What is going on in Florida? Why is nobody talking about it? People love to retire to Florida, but this year a lot has changed. And it may not be what you want to hear, but it's going to be the truth. So give me a thumbs up. In this video, I'm going to go in depth about the 10 big new changes that are coming to Florida. And this is what you need to know to avoid the pitfalls that are costly. Now, I don't want to crush your dreams of moving to the beach. I just want you to know, with your eyes open, what's really happening. So if you skip just one part of this video, could be number 2, could be number 6, could be even number 9. Doesn't matter which one you skip, but it could be the reason you have regret and are extremely unhappy in your moves to Florida. And I want you to be successful, and I want you to have all of the information. I don't want you to have to do this all again in 6 months or a year just because you're unhappy and you need to move again. So let's dig into it. The 10 big changes that are happening in Florida right now. This is a big problem, especially for people who are retired, because if they're on fixed income or they're just starting to think about retiring to Florida, I'm going to give you these reasons. In descending order, number 10, Florida state legislature passed a bill that now forces homeowners to buy additional flood insurance. Now, the requirements apply to properties across the state, regardless of whether you're in a high-risk flood zone or not. This will cost some homeowners additional thousands of dollars a year. Now, the bill was passed because Hurricane Ian caused catastrophic damage in parts of Florida that were just about no one had flood coverage. Now, financial ruin from some flood or financial ruin from high flood insurance requirements. Now the state tells you that if you move to Florida, you don't have a choice. Flood insurance is mandatory on top of all your other insurances. And just so you know, flood insurance is generally not included in standard homeowners insurance policies. What do you think about this? Number 9, new sky-high property taxes. Now, this is especially for people who have moved to Florida this year and into the future. A lot of people move south, they want to escape the crazy high taxes in other states, only to find that Florida has appraised home values that have skyrocketed 26% up between 21 and 22. Now, any new buyers that could owe thousands of dollars more in property taxes than their previous owners of the same exact homes. The new influx of Floridians has many who are looking to escape these high tax areas, only to find out Florida has changed. Florida is not as affordable as it once was. The expenses will continue to increase. People are actually venting on a 14,000 private Facebook group for people who are moving out of Florida, and one member claimed that his property had surged from $3,800 a year to $8,200 a year. For new owners, it's happening. Robert Walsh, a Broward County resident, saw his taxes on a Fort Lauderdale duplex surge from $5,000 a year to $13,000 a year. Number 8, high-cost homeowners insurance. Now, Florida insurance market is facing a crisis. There's more than 12 companies that went bankrupt, and half a dozen others are teetering, when many others have completely pulled out of the market altogether. 9 more companies so far left the market in 22. Now, Florida is already ranked as one of the worst homeowners insurance states in the country. It's tripled the national average. Now, Hurricane Ian, the rates are skyrocketing even higher. Progressive Insurance says they're not renewing 60,000 policies in Florida. Now, this is going to crush many people who are living paycheck to paycheck, but also many retirees who thought they had more money in the stock market, or they've had a little savings that they're starting to deplete because of the crazy high costs that are increasing in Florida. Number 7, high electric and utility costs. Now, on average, Florida residents spend about $247 a month on electricity. Now, that's 22% higher than the national average bill. This may not seem like a big deal, but the future increases are the big issue. Since Florida is flat and sandy, it does not have the option of dams and reservoirs for generating hydroelectricity. Now, Florida utilities rely heavily on high-cost natural gas to generate their electricity. 3 large private-owned utilities increased customer bills earlier this year just because of gas prices. And this is going to be a huge problem in the future, because when the Florida population increases and the demand for electric cars and air conditioning will grow in the state. Number 6, use tax. Now, Florida charges a 6% tax on vehicles. So when you bring your car or truck into the state, you title it, and you purchase a new vehicle or used vehicle in Florida, it's subject to pay an additional 6% tax. So if you're bringing your Toyota Highlander into Florida, it's going to cost somewhere around $2,600 in taxes, plus you still pay taxes, title, tags, and registration. Number 5, higher HOA fees. Now, some Florida homeowners in the past fought bitterly at the proposed increases in their monthly maintenance fees for years. Now, this may have been for personal reasons or financial reasons, maybe a lack of understanding, but now they know how critical the situation has become. There are new laws that mandate that Florida homeowners associations must have higher levels of emergency reserve funds for many Florida condominiums, and that's statewide. Now, this was instituted statewide after a 12-story collapse of the Champlain Towers near Miami. Florida sinkholes, deferred maintenance, buildings collapsing. Trust me, this spells trouble for many folks on fixed incomes or retired or retiring on Social Security. Now, this is going to equate to a financial disaster for many people. But if you just look at the math, many of these properties were purchased as retirement homes. Now homeowners insurance rates have jumped sky high alongside new costs associated with property ownership. These subject to reserves, the property maintenance and insurance, and especially in high-rise condo properties, is a tsunami in the making for many Florida homeowners. There are nearly 2 million people in Florida that live in an HOA, and now HOAs are going to have to start increasing their reserves to meet this new state of Florida standards. All the costs are going to get passed one way or the other to the Florida homeowner. Number 4, high population, crazy traffic equals high car insurance. Now, we all know that traffic's gotten worse everywhere in the nation in the past couple of years, right? But the move to Florida is not always as slow and relaxing as it used to be. Many people try to escape the rat race, move to Florida when they retire, only to find there's a pretty good chance that you're going to get stuck in traffic all the time. You're going to be waiting in lines, there's going to be accidents, there's going to be traffic blockages, road closures, all sorts of crazy driving, jumbled along with super slow moving vehicles creeping along, which creates the perfect recipe for wrecks and disaster. Now, it's not just the risk of life or limb, but it's the high insurance premiums. There's also lots of rain and road construction. So it's no wonder why insurance is so much more expensive in Florida. Now, if you look in 1973, Florida had less than 3 million people in the entire state. Today, it's over 22 million. Florida has changed a lot. So expect to be in traffic, fighting for a parking space, standing in long lines. Now, there are small, sleepy little towns that don't have the same local services like hospitals, food, and access to healthcare facilities. On the other hand, most of the coastal areas in Florida are super densely populated with residents. Number 3, Mother Nature. Hurricanes, tropical storms, tornadoes, crazy wild lightning strikes, rain downpours, dumping buckets, sinkholes, red tides. Insurance companies took huge hits, and ultimately property owners are going to pay. Florida is the number 1 state in the nation for hurricanes. Number 2, evacuations. Comes along with that, right? Many think that Florida is all sunshine, warm weather, and blue sky. Wrong. Many older residents have found the adventure of hurricane evacuations a huge hassle. Why? Because it gets exhausting. The repeat, the packing up, all their valuables and belongings, finding a place to go, long lines, gas prices, and if you find gas, then dealing with pets and family. And then when it's over, you get back in traffic. The government says, come on back. Then you deal with power outages, trees down, repairs, cleanup, fight with the insurance companies. Why? Because they don't want to pay. Unscrupulous workers to fix your stuff, then pay high prices for materials. Sounds like entertainment, right? Now, the number 1 reason is the cost of living in Florida, and there is a possible alternative. Let's talk about this. Historically, lower acquisition costs for Florida real estate has been very attractive for people coming from a more expensive real estate market. They sell a house somewhere else for a boatload of money, then they move south. But now, carrying costs in Florida properties is not often factored in by naive, unsuspecting buyers. Unfortunately, with all these new higher price increases in Florida, there will be retirees who no longer can afford to proceed with their plans of retiring to Florida. Many new home buyers are finding that they still will be left with high property insurance premiums if there's a carrier that will cover them, new state Florida requirements for flood insurance, new higher state of Florida Florida property taxes, since the new homeowners are not grandfathered in at the old rates like the previous owners were. And many who have already retired are now struggling to pay for these new increases. Florida halfbacks, possible alternative? You know, the term Florida halfback is a term for people from the Northeast or the Midwest states who moved to Florida, and yes, they absolutely love the Florida lifestyle. They moved because they wanted to escape the cold winters, only to find out that they just can't stand the Florida heat, the humidity, the hurricanes, the excessive cost of living, and everything else. So they end up once again moving, only this time halfway back home to the Carolinas. And there are many emerging retirement hotspots for new retirement age retirees. Now, many of these are taking advantage of the benefits of living in places like Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, where the state of South Carolina, you don't have to pay any taxes on your Social Security benefits. And the average year-round temperature in Myrtle Beach is 74 degrees. There's 215 days of sunshine. Besides great weather, great beach, there's fewer hurricanes than Florida, a change of seasons, plus you don't have to shovel snow. The cost of living is actually 6% less than the national average. The housing costs are 28% less than the national average. And they may call coastal Carolina area, South Carolina, the land of pleasant living. Why? Because U.S. News and World Report just ranked Myrtle Beach, South Carolina as the #1 fastest growing place in the United States, 22 to 23. But it also ranked Myrtle Beach, South Carolina as the #1 best place to live in the state of South Carolina, 21 to 23. So if you've considered Florida or the Carolinas or moving anywhere in the United States, I have a network of real estate experts that I can hook you up with. Just pick up the phone, give us a call. We can give you their contact information and they can help you. I hope this was helpful information to you. I'll see you in the next video.